Our volunteer award, though, my fine friends. And let me just take a minute here to remind everyone about how much of this work, the vast majority of it, is done by volunteers, regular folks taking up the things that are important in their communities with their hearts and the talents that they have. We have a magnificent example of volunteerism, action, and art tonight with us. I am so excited to introduce and give you a little bit of a background to our volunteer. It's for the Climate Action Award. Tom Grotewohl is a resident of Wakefield Township, a writer, and multi-instrumental musician who spent about a decade exploring the world and learning traditional music and is a wonderful creative voice in Michigan's climate movement. Tom founded Protect the Porkies, a nonprofit organization opposing proposed mines in the Upper Peninsula. The group draws its name from those Porcupine Mountains, and the campaign began in earnest in June of 2023 when a petition was launched calling on people to oppose the development of the proposed Copperwood Mine, another Canadian company planned to mine underground near the Porcupine Mountains Wilderness State Park and Lake Superior. And much like the campaigns at the turn of the century, where landscape artists used their canvases to share the wonders of the West into the halls of Congress to gain public land protection in America, Tom and the Protect the Porkies campaign have organized a postcard campaign, a poster, a photo, songwriting contests that are all just shining examples of how to incorporate the arts for social change. Tom, we are so grateful for your work. We loved hosting you at the summit, and seeing you in action was one of the inspirations for this award tonight. So many folks nominated after that, and we are so pleased to give you the Volunteer for Climate Action Award. Tom, tell them a little bit about your journey and your work.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. This is an immense honor, not only for the award, which I'll accept on behalf of Protect the Porkies. Protect the Porkies is not really an organization in the traditional sense. It's a decentralized movement that includes thousands of people. Anybody who steps up to challenge a permit application or make a phone call to a lawmaker. Protect the Porkies as many of the folks in this room right now. But it's also wonderful to have not only our work recognized, but also the artistic component. And I hope to talk a bit about why art is so important in these movements. But I'd also like to say that I'm just been personally inspired by many of the folks in this room, and I'm sure many more who I don't know yet. But Seth, your words earlier and your music was wonderful, and those insect creations were truly mind-blowing. So I'm going to do a screen share now, and I'll show you guys what we've been up to. All right, so you can find out a lot more about Protect the Porkies if you go to protecttheporkies.com. But first, for those who haven't had the pleasure of visiting the Porcupine Mountains Wilderness, which is Michigan's largest wilderness area and largest original old growth forest. We're talking primeval forest at a time when over 99% of Michigan's original forest has been logged. The fact that this is still here is truly an incredible piece of our heritage. And I have the honor of living very near to all of this majesty. So when we learned that a proposed copper sulfide mine was potentially going to be erected right next door to this incredible place, as well as the North Country Trail in Lake Superior, the first thing I did was, Google, like, okay, where's the resistance campaign against this? Clearly, people are fighting back. And I had the revelation that, well, if there's nobody, then I guess it has to be me. And that was really kind of a profound moment because I had always been used to sort of watching from the sidelines and doing what I can to assist in the movements of others, but had never really thought of myself as a leader. And that was never really the intention. But when you find yourself in a position where there simply isn't anybody else who lives in that area, then it falls on your shoulders to speak up. And so one of the big concerns about the proposed Copperwood mine, even though it's built as a copper mine, is that copper is actually only 1.5% of what comes out of the ground, and all the rest would be multiple pyramids of Giza worth of waste stored in unprecedented proximity to Lake Superior. And our campaign, even though we're based in a very remote area and we're a pretty ragtag ensemble, we've had some major successes. So, a $50 million taxpayer funded grant to advance the mine has been 3 times blocked, thanks to many of the folks in this room. The mining company now plans to use increased light and noise prevention measures, thanks to our forcing the conversation on light and noise. And they also have conducted a comprehensive reevaluation of the project and now plan to store mine waste underground, decreasing the size of that waste facility by 40%. Of course, these are purely hypothetical plans because we're going to make sure the mine is not built, but it's great to see that, if the project does move forward, it will be a better case scenario. So many of our actions in the past couple of years have been based around trying to block Michigan taxpayer funding from advancing this project. And there's a few kind of steps that we considered. Of course, this is a political decision. So if you think about change, cultural change is like a river. The political decision is what tends to get most of the media attention. What actually happens is maybe later on, that's the mouth of the river, what actually gets enforced. But what influences those political decisions is, of course, political participation. How much pressure do people put on politicians? What influences those people? It's art, it's music, it's culture and conversation. What influences the kind of art and music that we make is direct experience. So I put direct experience up there at the top of the mountain. That, for me, is hiking in the Porkies. It's swimming in Lake Superior. It's communing with nature. I think we've all had experiences like that. And so, this segment of this presentation will focus on how we focused on art and music as a part of a way to reach the mouth of the river, what actually happens after politicians make decisions. And so the first thing we did is we hosted a poster contest and we asked people to give positive renditions of what our campaign means to them. We're dealing with some pretty heavy subject matter, but really we're not an opposition group. We're advocates in favor of water and life and allowing the Upper Peninsula's economy to evolve. And so we received over 30 submissions. These are just a few of our favorites. And it's really awe-inspiring. We had folks from all walks of life, all skill sets. And the next step we did is we didn't want those posters just to remain as digital files. So we put them on some postcards for people that they could then use either as decorations in their home or as a way to reach out to their friends and family to spread word. And I'll talk about in a bit how this became an even more crucial part of our campaign later on. We put that image and some other imagery on stickers. And, stickers and postcards, on one level, it was a way for a small campaign to fund itself. On another level, this is something that large corporations know is that if you want people to resonate with you, they have to feel like a spiritual connection to whatever it is that you're selling. In this case, what we're selling is people speaking up for the natural world. But when you give them a sticker or a postcard, they smack it on a water bottle or their laptop, and then they think about it. They think about your campaign later on in the day, in the week, in the month. And so then whatever issue it is that you're fighting for, it doesn't just evaporate like dew, but when you call on them later to, okay, you got the stickers, now is the time actually to put our money where our mouth is and make those phone calls to lawmakers. It's a way of keeping sustained engagement. We hosted a songwriting contest this year. We offered some cash prizes in exchange for compositions celebrating nature, water, and resistance to ecological destruction. We received over 50 submissions, and you can listen to all of them at protecttheporkies.bandcamp.com. We put them out as 3 compilation albums, and it's very much worth a listen. There's a lot of very heartfelt music on these discs. And then it really all came together earlier this year when, in our continued fight against the Michigan funding of the Copperwood mine, we hosted postcard writing parties. And we invited some of the musicians from our songwriting contest to come and play their music live. And then we provided free pre-stamped postcards. Over 400 postcards were filled out by folks at these events in Ironwood, Watersmeet, and Marquette, all to the accompaniment of beautiful live music. And these postcards, of course, went to our lawmakers in Lansing. And really, the content of these postcards was gratitude. We thanked our lawmakers for standing with us 3 times already to reject the $50 million, and we asked them politely to stand with us again if they are asked to. One final artistic step we took this year is we provided the initial funding for the Ironwood Ecology Mural Fest in collaboration with Pleasant Peninsula. And in the town of Ironwood, it is the largest town in Gogebic County, and it's known for its mining heritage murals. And it's wonderful to celebrate the heritage and remember folks who worked really hard to try to make a better life for their families and their descendants. However, this picture doesn't really tell the full story of heritage. So now there are 3 beautiful new murals in Ironwood that show a larger, deeper option for what heritage really means to this area. So just to wrap things up, here we've got the Big Carp River in the Porkies. And just to think about the river as a metaphor for how change works, you've got what people experience at the top, that influences what people feel, that determines what they think, and finally what they do. So to the greatest extent possible, our campaign celebrates floating upstream, right? We should dare to influence so many important actions taking place up here in the surface realm. We've got to dig deep into ourselves. And yep, that's all I've got. So thank you so much for this opportunity.